Welcome back to what might be, if the gods are good, the final episode of Risk of Rain the Hundo. All we need to complete this game now is 2 items. The Interstellar Desk Plant and the Ancient Wisps, whatever it is. We also need 4 monster logs. The Ancient Wisp, the Toxic Beast, Ifrit, and the Scavenger. And we can get all of this stuff just by doing a breaking run. Breaking run means one of 2 things. On one hand, it means... are we going to step up to Monsoon? Yeah, because you get enhanced monster log drops on Monsoon. It means becoming a broken character. Becoming a character so powerful that nothing in the game can stand against you. And we're going to do that. But in Risk of Rain, it also has the added bonus of actually breaking the game, which is also very, very likely. We're going to keep Glass. We're going to finally get rid of Command, and we're going to turn on Origin. Glass, Command, Origin is going to cause just random items to rain down from monsters. And I don't get to pick what item, but this will serve 2 functions. First, it means that the boss drops the yellow items that come from monsters, one of which is the Ancient Wisp thing that we need to finish the game, will drop eventually. And 2, it means that I don't have to spend time futzing around with command boxes anymore. I want to grab this gasoline here. This will be nice. So that's nice. Command is actually really aggravating to use over long term. However, that does mean it might be dicey to actually get a breaking run going. Sometimes the items you need to survive the very early game just don't drop. Gasoline can be very helpful though, because every monster we kill is going to explode into fire. And, I gotta set my water over here. Make sure that, okay. No, don't quit and return to, where's it? Okay. My water was sitting in a precarious position last time I set it down. I can't set it on my desk in front of me because it sounds like this when I do that. And so I have a littler desk next to the side, which you can't hear banging on when I set water down. But I set it a little too close to the edge of the table. And the worst situation would have been if I banged it with my elbow and it went flying off the side. Now there's water all over my floor and then my dogs would start barking. And a breaking run in this game can be very, very long. We've had breaking runs that went 6 hours plus. I have no idea how long this particular run is going to be. And I have no idea if it ends up being 5 solid hours. It can't be 5 solid hours. I got stuff I got to do later tonight. So we are going to have to call it at some point. But probably the game is going to crash before we have a chance to actually duck out of the breaking run. And that's how you know that you've won Risk of Rain, when the game is well and truly broken. But you can see, without the ability to take our infusion first, our hit point total is going to be very sketchy for a while. And if we don't get really good kill items, we could find ourselves in a situation where the monsters out-damaged us. And that's not where you want to be in Risk of Rain. I feel like we've been pretty lucky with the monster logs so far, so hopefully this won't take forever, but I have not put up just a really good breaking run on YouTube yet. I also have no idea what I could possibly just talk about for 6 hours if it takes 6 actual hours. If this is my favorite way to do a breaking run, we'll just stack up whatever items the game gives me. And like the tier 1 white items, you end up with hundreds of copies of everything. The green items, you end up with a couple dozen of everything. And then tier 3 items, let me put it this way. I once set out to do a breaking run with the goal of getting at least one of every item in the game. And we looped, I think, 6 or 7 straight times. The only item we still needed was Fireman's Boots. And it just wouldn't drop. We just could not get the Fireman's Boots dropped, and eventually the game crashed. So throwing little nuggets off the top of my head because my use item is the detonator. They just blow up, and it's not a very good use item. Hopefully we'll get a better use item later. So the tier 3 we need to complete our item selection is the Interstellar Desk Plant. If by some weird quirk of logic we get all the monster logs on this run but no desk plants, I will just complete the breaking run. And then just real quick load up a game with command, play until I get a tier 3, take that desk plant, and then that'll be the hundo. That's the plan, but we're going to be at the game's mercy. We need to see Ancient Wisps, Scavengers, Ifrits, which only appear on literally one level. Remember last video we kept getting the wrong version of level 3? Now we want that version of level 3, because that's the only place in the game Ifrit shows up. And there are crashes that I think are associated with Ifrit in particular, I feel like, because over the 400 plus hours I've spent playing Risk of Rain, I have noticed the game crashes more often. Like, it gives you an error box, and a lot of times I see Ifrit's name in that error box. I think it happens quite a lot if there's an Ifrit on the screen somewhere in the level when you try to go to Boar Beach. For some reason the game doesn't like that, because I've had a lot of crashes after looping for an hour or two trying to go to Boar Beach. Tends to crash the game. So if we go to Boar Beach, I'm only going to go if I get the door there early, and like the first or second loop. If it's later than that, we're not going. And there's just an item we'll just never have. Ever, ever, ever. There's my teleporter. It's got to come down from above here. And it's going to be an Ancient Wisp for my boss, and he's going to drop a monster log, and cotton candy and Christmas cookies for everybody. It's a Magma Worm. Red Whip is a decent item to get. That is some movement speed, as long as I'm out of battle. I can't get that sprouting egg up there. But you see how liberating it is to just not open boxes. Eventually, we will have all the tier 1 and 2 items, which means we will eventually have an infusion. The breaking... Like, I like to put the breaking run in stages. Like, we're not off the ground until we get the infusion. Until you get the infusion, you're in great danger. And even for a little while after you get the infusion, give it some time to build up. But also we want some verticality. We want some Hopo Feathers. Rusty Jetpacks. It's not really a breaking run until you have those two things plus some really crazy kill items. Like kill-on-kill kind of items. Eventually we will be doing so much damage with kill-on-kill items we won't need our cleaver anymore. But the cleavers are fun, which is why I chose Chef for the breaking run. Chef does not have an escape move. The closest thing he has is this oil thing that makes him a little bit faster for like 6 pixels. But that's as good as it gets with Chef. Huntress is also a really fun breaking run, but I find it really difficult to get a breaking run going as Huntress because she's so squishy. Commando is probably the easiest, I think. The easiest of the ones that are most fun. I do like a loader to play as. I do like Handy to play as, but their breaking runs are less fun because their best damage abilities are melee, and eventually you've got Frost Relics, and if you try to get in the melee range to use your abilities, Frost Relic just kills everything. If you're killing everything with Frost Relic, Charge Field Generator, any other passive item, it doesn't matter what class you're playing anymore. So you do reach that point with most characters, but with Chef and Huntress and Commando, stacking up hundreds of soldier syringes, which we will eventually do, is just incredibly silly and satisfying, because we'll be throwing so many cleavers so quickly, it won't make sense to any form of human logic that you are familiar with. It might make you question your religion. You may renounce your god when you see how quickly we throw cleavers. Providing this break and run goes somewhere. We might die really early, and we might go 2 hours without getting a run off the ground, and any number of things might happen here at the end of Risk of Rain Hundo. Who knows? Who knows? I don't know. I wonder if Engineer is a fun break. I'm not actually sure. I haven't done breaking runs with every single class, because like I say, eventually it stops mattering because you kill you're killing with your passive items rather than your actual attacks. And you have so much mobility that your escape items no longer matter. Like, these are all things that happen during the game if you play long enough. So I don't know if an Engineer break would actually be that interesting anyway. With any luck, we've got Boar Beach on this map. That's why I'm going up top first to check. Because without any verticality and without a lot of hit points, these spiders are they're a run ender a lot. Because if they stack up quite a lot, they can get behind you, and this little wimpy jump is not really enough to get over them all the time. Okay, are we at least going to see Ifrit? A Colossus. Alright, I'm going to kill that Colossus later. We're going to do a kill floor down here. There, we made use of the detonator. You happy? Eventually we'll also have a really good attack item that can also really stretch a run if you get a really good attack item before your infusion. We unfortunately are stuck with the detonator, which is not very good. We've got to keep these spiders kind of under control for a while. I mean, if you've watched a lot of my Risk of Rain videos, you've seen where sometimes I'll just stay on the first level and farm up until I get particular items. Just because the first stages have the easiest enemy set to deal with. You don't have enemies like these spiders that are relentless and can fire along the ground at you along any distance without a lot of wind-up. Okay, got a second red whip before we get most of our tier 2s. We also got the arms race, which is a useless tier 2 in this run because we don't have access to drones. And now we've got a whole bunch of spiders chasing us. Which is not what you want to see. As well as His Majesty come into play. And me without a lot of damage or health. So we're going to hang out up here for a second. There are missile guys down there, but how do I want to play this? If I had... Oh, yep, there's a missile guy down there. Okay. Maybe we'll hang out right here. So we have full health, and then go back. There's a war banner, that's good. Oh, we got Timekeeper's Secret. Okay. That'll help slightly. And we're dead. The imp teleported in front of me while I was hopping away. Might take a few runs to get off the ground. It does happen with the breaking runs from time to time. But I did not have a lot of options in that situation. I could have climbed up the top left of the level, but that's also a place where enemies do tend to build up. But His Majesty showing up right there after all those elite spiders spawned in, right at that moment, was not a very opportune time. And I didn't have much in the way of health or killing or defense for that run, and didn't even have a very good use item. I was trying to leverage my ability to get back to that rope and get back up to safety and let my health regenerate again. And then repeat that process, but 2 red whips and an arms race from tier 2, your first 3 tier 3 or tier 2 items. Not really what you want to see. But you do want to get down into the bottom of the floor to your kill floor on that level because you've got multiple stages of elevation that you can use to protect yourself from the spiders. There's a colossal neural. That's some health, regeneration, and armor. Nice. And there's a syringe to start off the festivities. The tier 2s are the most important items to get right now because we're looking primarily for a Hopo Feather, an infusion, and then eventually both. That's when the run is really off the ground. Once you have infusion and Hopo Feather, then it's a matter of surviving long enough to make the infusion work so you have lots of health to offset the glass penalty. And then it's just a matter of playing with whatever stuff you do manage to get. There's a tier 3 item. The Embryo, double effect use item, is not great considering I don't even have a use item yet. Or if we had had some really good kill items. There's the Carrara Marble. Alright, we can put that in the gate. I don't know what this even does with a double effect. Well, if we push that button again, we'll teleport back to where that gate is. We are going to replace this item, but it might help us get out of trouble. We can put the marble somewhere safe, and then if we really get into trouble, we can just pop back to it, and we won't be overloaded with monsters for a little while. Give ourselves some breathing space. So let's get into the habit of making the kill floor on the opposite side of the stage as the marble gate. We can make that work for us. And hopefully this time we make it to our first loop. Okay, we're at remaining enemies. One of them is this Jally. I mean, we come out of the first stage with 5 items. That's alright. I mean, I've done the first stage and not gotten any items before, so... Well, 6 items. Gotta use item as well. I'm developing some kind of illness right now. Like, I'm not sick, but I feel like I could start to get sick like any moment. Starts out just a little tiny scratch at the back of the throat. So I'm drinking an inordinate amount of water to try to drown this scratch. So, I mean, it's just soothing for one thing, but for Christmas last year, my in-laws gave us... I don't want that thing. I'd rather have the marble. If I can open the marble right there. Gave us a water cooler for Christmas. One of those big, like, 6 foot... Not 6 foot. Like, 4 foot tall, giant bottle water cooler things. And I don't see the point of it, really. But Peanut seems to like it, so... I'm one of those people, like, I don't want to have just extraneous stuff in my house, you know what I mean? There's a Guardian Heart, that's really good, but we gotta get away from this Wisp first. But we will definitely take that Guardian Heart. Yes, sir, buddy. That's some good protection to start the game off right with. Not as good as an infusion would be, but yeah. I'll take it. The thing is, I drink tap water. I just drink it out the tap. I'm fine with it. Tap water's fine, and I've never seen any evidence to the contrary. People are like, but it's got like floaties in it, and they add fluoride to take control of your brain. Whatever. Who cares? Our tap water, maybe it's not that way where you live, but where we live, the tap water's fine. You can drink it, and it won't hurt you. I mean, here's the way I look at it. Like, I've never understood people who won't drink water that they cook and bathe with. You know what I mean? Does that not make sense? Like, I'm okay with scrubbing this water all over my body in all of my orifices and my, you know, my downstairs, but I won't drink it. Or, like, I'll brush my teeth with this water, and that's fine, but I won't... I'll use this water to boil and make pasta or whatever, but I won't drink. Like, have you ever known anybody like that? You can't drink the water. You gotta go buy the bottled water. You gotta go to the store and buy the water from the store that totally just comes out of their tap or whatever. It's not. It's like Zephyrhills isn't actually going to an alpine spring and putting it in plastic bottles. No, it's just whatever the municipal water source is wherever they're shipping it from. That's the water they use. And sorry if I'm breaking all of your illusions about how bottled water works, but for years we bought the bottled water because Peanut insisted that you can't drink the tap water because the tap water is gross. So we bought the bottled water, which I didn't drink much of. Sometimes it's just convenient. If you're like stepping out of the house or something, it's just really convenient to grab a bottle of water instead of filling up like a container and taking it with you. So I did drink the bottled water from time to time from that aspect of things. But so we get this thing on Christmas and she's like, oh good, so we don't have to buy bottled water anymore. We just have this in the house now. And then like once a month or whatever, however long it takes us to drain the thing, we can just buy a couple gallons of bottled water and fill the thing back up. It's a 5-gallon drum, basically. So we'll just buy some gallons of water and fill it up manually. So I've continued to drink the tap water because I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And also because if I'm drinking water, I prefer it to be like not like warm, but not like ice cold. I don't like ice cold water. The only drinks I like to be ice cold are soda and milk. I mean, I don't want to put ice in my milk. That's gross. But I need milk to be that cold. You know what I mean? It can't be even slightly warm if I'm drinking it. So I just drink the tap water. I'm fine with it. So it took her a month and a half now we've had this thing. And we're just now emptying it for the first time. And the reason it's taking so long is, first of all, she doesn't drink a lot of water, like in general. Because when she makes coffee or something in the Keurig, she just fills the Keurig out of the tap. Because tap water is fine if you're making coffee, but whatever. But it's still more convenient for her to have the bottles, so she's still been buying the cases of bottled water. So this cooler thing's not even getting much use. It just sits here in my house, and I'm one of these people, like, I don't want a bunch of appliances in my house that I don't use. If it's something we use all the time, fine. I've got a rice cooker. We use it 3-4 times a week sometimes. Fine. I got a George Foreman grill. We use it constantly to make chicken breast and sometimes hamburgers, and fine. We use it all the time. If we're using it, I'm fine with it. See right there, 2 items just dropped because I deserve it. We have a thing called an air fryer, and this thing is a scam. Peanut's not going to watch this video, so I can talk about her terrible purchasing decisions. So the air fryer, it's marketed as a fryer that doesn't use oil. You put the items in there, you don't put in any oil, and it fries it as though you were deep frying the item. And it's healthier, and that's the big draw of it. This thing is enormous. It's massive. It's big enough to fit a little pan of like fries or something in, okay? And it's a really dumb shape. Like, it's not rectangular. It's got this stupid egg shape to it. So its footprint on our shelf is idiotic. We can't just put it on a shelf out of the way while we're not using it because this thing is so massive and such a weird shape that it kind of has to sit front and center on our main appliance shelf. Hey, leeching seed's not bad for healing. I feel a lot better about this run than I did about the previous one. That's for show. Let's take His Majesty down. There you go. It's not the boss item we need, but it's the boss item we deserve. So you're probably thinking, Brickroad, how does this thing fry food without any kind of oil or medium to fry it in? It's because it's a toaster oven. That's all it is. It's a toaster oven. You put it in, and the air gets hot enough to cook the food, and it's a toaster oven. It's not an air fryer. You know what would be better than having this air fryer? Having a toaster oven. Toaster ovens are smaller and can make a comparable amount of food, and they don't have to be marketed as some kind of weird health thing, because they're just what they are. We used to have a toaster oven. We don't anymore because it broke and we didn't get it replaced. But, oh, I gotta go all the way around, don't I? Because some nerd fell down here. Inconsiderate jerk. So yeah, we have a toaster oven shaped like a gigantic red egg with a bunch of stupid parts that have to be cleaned constantly that barely fit in our dishwasher that we almost never use. Almost never use. I use this thing never. Whenever I make anything that can be made in the air fryer, I make it in the oven because that's all this thing is. I can either dirty the big stupid egg monstrosity and the basket inside and the little thing that catches the crumbs in the basket because it all has to be some stupid standalone thing, or I can dirty one cookie sheet and put out all my tater tots or French fries or whatever on the cookie sheet and put it in the oven because it's the same thing. So, passive-aggressive Lady Peanut, because she cannot admit to herself that this air fryer was a poor purchasing decision, has to justify it by buying, like, frozen items that are supposed to be deep fried, like frozen mozzarella sticks. Tater tots are very popular in our house, but like frozen French, the kind of things, like, if you had a deep fryer, you would deep fry. And some of these things are disgusting, like the mozzarella sticks she buys are just gross. But like pizza rolls, they're gross, all these things. And she only buys them to have an excuse to use the air fryer. So when I say, hey, we don't need this air fryer, she can say, yes, we do. I use it all the time. I used it twice last week to make mozzarella sticks and pizza rolls. Even though you could literally put the mozzarella sticks or pizza rolls on a baking sheet in the oven, and it's the exact same thing. It's the literal exact same thing. Telescopic sight. That'll be really fun once we get our soldier syringes in line. I think we could throw away probably half of the kitchen appliances we have. I would keep our rice cooker and our George Foreman grill, which I use all the time. It's just super convenient, the George Foreman grill, over any other cooking solution that does something similar. Like, it's actually more work to cook like chicken breasts or something in the skillet than it is on the... I can just slap them on the George real quick, you know? It's a smaller footprint in my dishwasher to put the George Foreman plates in there than... I have to kind of put a skillet up on the top rack so it gets clean. I know some people are down on the George Foreman grill. Maybe some people are thinking, I'd rather have an air fryer than a George Foreman grill. That's fine. But for me personally, the George Foreman gets a lot of use, and it does things that we wouldn't really do otherwise. Like, I don't know how else I'd make a hot dog. I know some people boil their hot dogs, but I'm not going to drag my grill out to make a nice grilled hot dog. I guess you could just cook it in a skillet, like a sausage, and just roll it. But then you don't get grill marks. And I don't know. It's a different experience to me. We need to see a toxic beast. There she is. That's who we need to see. Oh, she's coming for me. Yeah, she can just run all the way across the top of this, right? That's exactly the tier 3 item I wanted to see. This is a massively good get, because this will help us kill absolutely everything. And there is a use item that I actually want. Let's get up out of the lava first, though. And the rice cooker, because I make a lot of rice. Like, I work at home, so I eat a lot of my lunches at home. So I eat a lot of, like, canned soup and stuff. I just want something real quick that I can make in 10 minutes and consume really fast for lunch. The rice cooker, what I can do is just throw in a cup of rice and let it cook for 20 minutes and not have to worry about it. And if I'm too late getting back to it, it's fine because the rice cooker keeps it warm for me. And a cup of rice is super filling, and that's my lunch a lot of days. So I would definitely keep the rice cooker. And of course, there's lots of stuff we can do with it. We've got a steamer attachment, so I can steam vegetables in it, which I do pretty frequently. Double saw meringue! What? Oh yeah, because I got the embryo. Cool. And now stuff's just dying and falling out of the air thanks to the ceremonial dagger. Yeah. Yeah, this run's definitely getting there. But we need an infusion before it's, like, officially got there, okay? She has 2 little single-serving waffle makers. One that she bought and one that my mother bought her for Christmas because she didn't know she had one. And she insists she needs both of those. So we have both of those. You know what we don't have anymore? We don't have an electric griddle. We used to have a really cool, a really nice electric griddle that we used for a couple of years before it started fritzing out. It wouldn't get hot evenly. So we ended up getting rid of it and just getting a regular griddle that you can just sit on the stovetop to get hot. And that works pretty well, but after we used that for a couple years, it's like really thin, like sheet metal with the, what's it called, like the Teflon coating on it, so it's the non-stick coating. But it started to warp, so now it doesn't sit flat on the stove anymore. And I'm like, we got to get us a new griddle. I want to get another electric griddle, so I can cook on the electric griddle while also cooking on the stove if I want to. And I would use it all the time, because I would use it to fry burgers, I would use it to make pancakes. Like, I get some use out of that griddle. She's like, we don't need that. So it's like, the appliances we actually need, she won't get. Was there an item up there that dropped? Can I see that? Yes. Harvester Scythe. Not going to be important right now, but that'll be good healing for when we get all of our crit glasses in order. We've only got 1 pair of crit glasses right now. But eventually we will have hundreds. This is why I don't have a really good sense of what the diminishing returns on items, because my most common way of playing Risk of Rain over the years has been doing breaking runs like this, where you don't even pay attention to what items you get. You just get hundreds of everything. So you hit the cap on everything, And then keep getting items anyway, just because that's what you do. The thing I really want to griddle now is to make smash burgers. You don't make smash burgers on a grill. We have a beautiful grill that we can use, but we don't obviously use it all the time. There's a hopo feather. I like it. We're like 2 to 3 times more survivable now than we were. Ooh, I take this though, right? Yeah, I take this. I take the Captain's Brooch to get more items. This will also put make our fireworks do something once we get fireworks. Our kill is good enough right now. With the ceremonial dagger, the killing is actually really good right now. Sometimes you don't want to drag the grill out to make burgers, and even if we don't drag the grill out, I'll just slap them on the George Foreman real quick. I especially do this because we'll buy a lot of meat and then end up freezing some of it. If making burgers with frozen ground meat, you're not going to cook them properly anyway. It's not going to be as high quality, so I don't bother getting the grill. It's good enough. Slap it on the George with some cheese, maybe some bacon. It's fine. Ukulele is a kill item. That'll help put some more damage out in the world. But for smash burgers, what you want to do is make like a little like meatball, like a little round meatball, and then put it. You just season it on one side, and then you put it on the grill, and you smash it as flat as you possibly can. Which is difficult for me because I don't have like a big industrial spatula. I have to use like a regular metal spatula, and then I push down on it with the end of a wooden spoon to get the smash on the smash burgers. You're not going to do that on the grill. Do that on a griddle, and it works really nice. But I end up doing it in a large skillet because the only grill we have is this thing that is badly warped now. More crit glasses over there happened. I'll take those. Very, very nice. Oh, yeah. I think we'll last till our infusion. I think we'll get there. And it'll be lovely. Let's start looping. Let's get dumb. Settle in, get comfy, kids. I think this run's going to go somewhere. So I got good kill, I got good verticality. All we need now is infusion to really solidify this. I should make sure that I don't accidentally leave His Majesty behind. There's a frost relic, so now when I do get stuck in monsters, they'll be taking lots of damage. Beautiful. No, we're not going to take the Jar of Souls. Enemies dying off screen. It's a beautiful thing, right? That's the glory of the ceremonial dagger. Lots of teleporting crabs. Not sure that I like that very much, but... I kind of want to pick up some fireworks now. Oh, nice! And because we got the embryo, we'll sometimes get 2 boxes. Oh, I haven't found the teleporter yet. For some reason, I was thinking I was counting on the teleporter. Did I check over here then? Did I make it all the way to the edge? I must have. Yeah, that's where His Majesty showed up and I got distracted. But yeah, I really feel like we could throw away like half of our kitchen appliances and never miss them. Because we got stuff that... Like, she's got a single-serving coffee maker thing that she insists on keeping, even though we have the nice big Keurig machine that does actually get used every day. She's got those little waffle makers, like I said. We have too many cutting boards. Like, she has these big, what material are they? They're like the floppy plastic, or like rubbery plastic cutting boards that she insists on keeping, even though we have nice wooden ones. I need to get a nice glass one. I want to get like a nice big glass one to work with, but I don't have one. 'Cause I'm of the opinion that you should not amass stuff like that. You should keep the stuff that you're using, and as you get more functional and perhaps more practical stuff, replace the old stuff, you know? Like, hey, we didn't need to get a new electric griddle because we got the non-electric one, you know? Like, hey, maybe next time our George Foreman breaks down and we replace it, we get one that has a waffle maker attachment in the box. So we don't have to keep these little waffle maker devices. Because we're never making waffles anyway, so maybe for the one day out of the year when we actually want waffles, we could just get the little attachment out of the drawer rather than have a whole device sitting on a shelf all year long. I don't think we should be buying foodstuffs to justify the appliance purchases we've made. I don't like this as a kill floor. I'm going to go back over here. 2 items. Love it. Love it. Love it. Happiest mask. That's another kill item, but it's also something that can crash the game quite a bit, because every time we kill an item, it's a monster, its ghost stays on the screen. Auto-target missiles are happening now. And yeah, you can crash the game with too many ghosts. In fact, Frost Relic used to crash the game all by itself, because there was no cap on how many little frost ice cubes you can get out there. They fixed that, and it made Frost Relic a lot less strong, although it's still pretty strong, and it doesn't crash the game anymore, so that's nice. But the items are just... We haven't even got a 56-leaf clover yet, and the items are coming so quickly that we almost don't have time to fight anything. We're always headed towards where the last item drops. But we've got nothing off the list that we need. We don't have no monster logs, no interstellar desk plant, no ancient wisp monster drop. I think it's called a legendary wisp is the item we get. So we press on. We press onward, comrades. We move forward. We're only 24 minutes in. It's going to be a long, long run. And I'm already talking about kitchen appliances, so it's only going to go downhill from here. But yeah, Peanut's the type who will, like, she'll think like, hey, we need a new set of knives, for example. Like, our knives are not sharp anymore, and I want to go buy a new set. But then she won't get rid of the old set. She'll keep the old set, so now she has 2 sets of knives. I think in practice we have parts from probably 3 different knife sets that we've accumulated over the years. She bought a new set of dishes, and I'm like, oh, does that mean we're going to get rid of the old dishes? There's some dishes we can get rid of that have chips or don't match or whatever. Somebody one year, I think as a wedding gift, we got a set of square plates. Square plates are the worst, okay? Unless all of the plates you own are square, square plates are just a bad idea in general. But we had 4 square plates that just sat in our house in our plate rotation. I finally accidentally broke one. And it was an accident. It wasn't like, oops, look what happened to the plate. I guess we gotta get rid of them now. It legitimately was. I dropped it while I was pulling it out of the dishwasher and it broke. But I did use that as a pretense to, hey, can we just get rid of these square plates? She said, you know what? I hate the square plates. So we did eventually get rid of the square plates, thankfully. Stuff's just dying down there. There's a knife way up in midair. This is the flying midair knife that we can never get. The fabled floating knife of Ajun Ra. That will eventually disappear back into the ether from whence it came. Unless I get a rusty jetpack or a hopo feather in the next couple minutes here. Just that knife is up there forever. Really shouldn't go down here for an arms race, but I'm greedy. I've lost a lot of runs just going down for items that I didn't actually need before I had the infusion or the health to back up the excursion. Okay, that's stuck in kind of a ceiling. I might be able to dislodge that sticky bomb, but it's not going to be pretty. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. And the flying knife is gone now. As you do. I think there is value to collecting things if you have a particular type of thing you like to collect. For example, I collect video games. Okay, so I've got shelves of physical video games. For one thing, that's less true now than it used to be, because obviously most of the games I buy are non-physical, and I prefer buying non-physical games now to physical copies. It's actually very rare for me to get a physical copy of a game anymore. But it's also a little different in that, for one thing, a lot of these physical games, like, I'm not going to replace it with something. Even if I can just download, like, a Metroid ROM, doesn't mean I shouldn't still have the Metroid cartridge in the house. You know what I mean? It's a different experience playing a game on hardware versus on emulator, or playing, like, an original release version of a game rather than the Steam port. Hey, there's Boar Beach. Let's finish this level. If we don't get Ifrit, we'll go to Boar Beach. If we do, I'm not going to go because I don't want to risk crashing this early in the run. There's an item box down here that I want to get. I actually don't like a kill floor up top anyway. So we're going to head on down. I can't be one-shot thanks to the Guardian Heart, so we're actually pretty safe from most threats. And I also have Timekeeper's Secret, don't I? Or was it? No, that was the previous run that we lost. So, yeah, we didn't get a Timekeeper Secret yet this run. Okay, this is a box. It's more dice, which is useless to us, but we'll pick them up anyway. Really like this as a kill floor. I kind of want Head Stompers now. Do I have Head Stompers? You really lose track of what items you've actually picked up, because eventually we're working on our third row of items already, and eventually the items will be just off the screen. Whatever we get in the fourth row and later, we'll never know. And that'll tend to be a bunch of tier 3 items that don't stack up. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. There's a scavenger. That was a lot of damage from that scavenger. Get away from him there. So the Guardian Heart comes back. I think it did, actually. I think we're good. But hey, maybe he'll drop a monster log. Here's His Majesty again. Oh, looks like he dropped a Bustling Fungus. Which, you know, okay. We're taking a lot of damage from spiders because they just kind of stack up and they all fire along the ground at once, and that's not fun for anybody. I got fireworks now, which is nice. There's another Guardian Heart. Most of my hit points are from Guardian Hearts. I think I've like doubled my hit points thanks to the Guardian Hearts that I have. Nice. So a monster's got to do about 230 damage to me with a single hit to get through my Guardian's Heart, which means it's got to do the full 475 damage in one hit. And even that can't kill me. As long as the Guardian Heart is active, like I can take about 230 damage or so before I have to worry about getting one shot. Which is nice. However, 30 minutes into this run, we still do not have any of the things we need. I must have Head Stompers, because I just killed a bunch of piglets. Yeah, just load me up with all your off-screen experience. All that experience is coming from the Happy Mask and the Ceremonial Dagger, killing things off-screen. Boar Beach used to be the best way to farm. Before they added the artifacts, before you could put on Sacrifice and just get items dropping, like naked items dropping from monsters, the way you had to do it, like all items come out of a box. Ooh. Ooh, alien head. Reduces cooldown. I like it. I mean, we're really only using cleavers anyway, but we got an alien's head. That's kind of cool. All of your items came out of boxes except for items that dropped off elites with a 56 elite clover. So, and items that dropped off bosses. So what you had to do is go to Boar Beach, get a clover, and just fight the toxic beasts that spawned in over and over again. That was the most convenient way to get a lot of items dropping early in the game before you could get overwhelmed with elites. It used to be the most convenient way to farm. Now you can just load up. There's another knurl. I like it. Now, of course, you just take Sacrifice out for a spin. Still no infusion, though. So, I mean, we're not super fast, and our verticality is limited to 1 extra jump. A Blighted Snow Golem, a couple of those landing hits back to back, is still going to be enough to kill me within, like, 2 frames. So do not get complacent in a Risk of Rain run just because you look at the bottom of the screen and you see you've got hundreds of items already. You can see our Tier 1 items are starting to stack up. We got 6 of one thing and 5 of another and 4 of this and that. We do have duplicates of the odd Tier 2 items. Oh, I guess I do have 2 pairs of Head Stompers down there. And this is going to be us for a while. What was... Wait... Oh, I haven't found the teleporter in this level yet. Okay, I forgot. You gotta play this level twice if you go to Boar Beach. So, I'm like, oh, isn't the teleporter up the other side? It was, but we didn't take that teleporter. We went to Boar Beach instead. So we're not gonna go back to Boar Beach now, because we got the... You get the item, the shirt out of it. We got that now. We don't need that again. Try to prioritize hit list monsters? Oh, too late. Okay, see you later. Another Guardian's Heart. Alright. No problem. I'll take another Guardian's Heart. Every Guardian's Heart, I think, is plus... Is it 60? It's 60 hit points. Look at all those Happy Mask ghosts. And we're only in the first loop. It hasn't even started to get stupid yet. If you've never seen one of my Risk of Rain streams, if all of my Risk of Rain content you've seen has been on YouTube, then you're not prepared for what's going to happen in this run. It'll happen, it just... I do realize that I have different audiences on YouTube and on Twitch. There's some overlap. Some of my core viewership obviously haunts me in both places. But I know that most of my YouTube audience never... I must have Timekeeper Secret, because it just proc. I just took a big hit there. I just took another one. What's hit? Oh, it must be a blighted creature hitting me. Maybe a blighted spider is over there somewhere, shooting along the ground. Well, I have Head Stompers now, so I can do this. We can get all the nerds stacked up below, like this. See how they're all stacking up? And then just... There you go. And eventually they'll die and start shooting daggers at each other. Yeah, just line up. Line up. I can throw the cleavers out. I want to pick up his taser before it vanishes. Okay. Remaining enemies now. So yeah, I do realize I got 2 different kind of audiences. And I imagine that people who don't check me out on Twitch, the reason they haven't done so is because some people don't like that kind of content. That kind of long form, we're going to watch this guy play one game for hours content. Whereas on YouTube, it's like, hey, I tune in for 20 minutes a day and watch whatever Brickroad put up that day. It's a very different kind of experience. I know this because I enjoy... There's another Colossal Merle. Sure. I personally enjoy both kinds of content, but I want it at different points of my day. Like, I like the structured 20-minute YouTube content when I sit down in the computer for the first time. I'm checking my email or something. I I have time to sit down and watch it. Whereas the Twitch content, Like, oh man, this guy's playing World of Final Fantasy. He's going to be playing it for 6 hours. That'll be a great thing to put on while I'm working on my D&D adventure for the week. Or whatever the case may be. But if you are one of my viewers that likes my YouTube content that has not come on over to Twitch, this is what you're missing. This run right here, and maybe like just the Risk of Rain, this Hundo series in general, is the kind of content that I most normally put on Twitch. Okay, Cremator is going to be dangerous, but not insurmountable. Got a boxing glove and a key. There's 2 Cremators down there. Okay, we gotta take a lap around the level and try to survive this now. I see the old Lopper up there. I'm gonna try to circle back and... Oh, I'm not gonna go get high enough to get that. So that's a tier 3 we just don't get, I guess. I don't have any way to become invulnerable with this character, so getting through the Cremator bullets is very, very difficult sometimes. On Rainstorm difficulty, you get to see where they're going to explode. But on Monsoon, you do not. Okay, I want to get down here. There's one dead. There's 2 dead. Not quite. Not quite. We'll get him when he comes back. Right here. Boom. Dead. And he drops some nugs and a scarf. And there's a box I can open. And I didn't even take that much damage. It's funny because I just said I have no way to make this character invulnerable. That's what this use item does here. Is it gives you benefits of invincibility. And it gives me sometimes double invincibility. Like it lasts twice as long because I've got that embryo. But I'm not going to take it. And we did not get a monster log from the Toxic Beasts. So, our journey here continues. The whole Risk of Rain Hundo series, the reason I did it is because at some point last year, my work PC, it wasn't misbehaving. It's not like it was breaking. It worked fine. It just became more and more apparent that it was not up to the task of making the kind of video that I was trying to make. When I first started my YouTube channel, I was making tiny little videos at small resolutions because most of it was like emulator recordings or something. But trying to do, like, I only uploaded 720p, but even that, the software that I used, the computer just was not up to the task. It was becoming more and more clear because it was taking me longer and longer and longer to render one video. And even edit one video. Like, the editing work was stretching way, way out beyond what was reasonable, to the point where I couldn't even guarantee myself with my schedule that I could get one video on average rendered every day. Because sometimes the editing would take a long time just because the computer was very slow at what it was doing. It would take me, say, 2 hours to go through a 20-minute video and do the editing for it. And then however long it took to render, sometimes 4 or 5 hours to render, and then if the render crashes, which was also very common for these same reasons, that's the whole day gone, basically. So last year, what I did is I said, okay, I'm clearly not going to be able to do 5 videos per day with this computer. I can either drastically lower the quality of the content that I'm putting out, or I can reduce the amount of videos that I'm putting out. And I chose to do the latter. 3 videos a week. But because I was reducing that content, I was thinking, okay, is there some kind of content that isn't very resources as far as editing goes? Something that I don't have to babysit. Is there something I would be happy putting out, even if it's not my best, most time-consuming work? And I decided this long-form series, the hour-long Risk of Rain episodes, are such content. Typically, when I do a Let's Play series, part of what I have to do is watch the video back as I'm editing it to ensure, like, go and take out audio pops is a big thing that I need to do. If I want to add supplementary material into the video, put together an outro slide, which is very labor intensive and gotten more and more so over the past couple years. I'm like, is there a type of video that I would be happy not watching back? If it has an audio pop, it's okay. That I'm not going to make an outro slide for. And I'm like, you know what? A long-form series where I do an hour of gameplay at a time, because that's not a video, in my opinion, that somebody is going to queue up and then watch start to finish. That's a video somebody's going to put on in the background while they're doing something else and kind of half watch or half listen to, because that's how I engage with that kind of content. I watch a lot of Factorio content and Mario Maker content, people that put out 50-hour, 90-minute videos sometimes. And that's how I watch it, very passively. So I'm thinking, okay, probably that's how people are going to watch this Risk of Rain series. And I can make content like that without, like, on this busted kind of old computer with the software that I have, kind of fire and forget. That was the inception of this series. In case, I think I explained that in one of the earliest episodes, but that's where the idea for the Risk of Rain series came from, and it's been a lot of fun for me, because like I said, I can just record, all I gotta do is record this, and then put it up, and that's it. That's really all the work that this series needs to get. In terms of rendering time, it was still quite a lot, because the videos are a lot longer, but I'll know I'm walking back and forth in that just hot mess there. That's not very smart at all. But in terms of actual work that I have to do manually, it's much, much less labor intensive. Now I have a newer computer. I did build a new computer for Christmas this year. This past year, actually. So it's not an issue anymore, and I'm back to uploading 5 videos a week like I try to anyway. But now I'm just doing 6 videos a week, because I do the 5 regular videos and then this Risk of Rain one. So I haven't really decided if I want to keep doing the long-form series after Risk of Rain is done, because it might be done. This might be the last video if we start getting the monster logs we need. Or if I'm going to pick a new kind of long-form game. I think if I do pick a long-form game, I'm going to make that my Friday upload, and then go back to not uploading on Saturdays. And then just not have a Saturday series. So 5 videos a week, one of which is going to be one of these kind of long ones. I think would be real nice. There's the monster log. Monster log, Toxic Beasts. So there's one thing we need. I actually have a text file here that I can delete Toxic Beast from. Bing! See, like, if this wasn't a Risk of Rain series, if I was actually editing this like I would a normal series, I would have felt like, okay, well, I've got to put something in the video, like some kind of like little visual effect when I make that bing noise to kind of accentuate that I had a text file off to the side, like a little fun joke that will only take 2 seconds, and then that would be 5 or 10 minutes of editing time to make that work. Not doing that for Risk of Rain. Not even happening. I don't even do outro cards for Risk of Rain. So, we got one monster log headed into the next loop. Glorious. We still need Ancient Wisp, Scavenger, and Ifrit monster logs, Interstellar Desk Plants, and the Legendary Wisp item. I'm just going to sit here until I can open that box, I think. There's no point moving on just yet. We are getting some work done on the hit list, which is nice. Okay, that's that. That's a gold bomb. Nobody wants that. Oh, there's 2 boxes up there, though, because I got the embryo. Right. I already have your monster log, Vagrant. I don't need your shiz anymore. I do have a couple ideas of what I could do for another long-form series. For example, one thing I did last year is I played through Factorio and made myself a really comprehensive book of blueprints, thinking I might do a long-form Factorio series once Risk of Rain is done. But as soon as I made all those blueprints and got them set aside, they announced a new game patch that was going to change the way some of the game features work, which is going to necessitate new blueprints anyway, so that's not going to happen. I thought maybe doing a Minecraft series where I just like start a vanilla Minecraft world, no frills, no BS, and just play to the Ender Dragon. Ooh, don't want to get inside that guy. Okay, we gotta be real careful around this. We gotta treat this worm with great respect. Oh, he's dead. We got him. Okay, we treated him with respect all the way to his grave. Because as you loop, you start loading in multiple bosses at once, which increases the chances you might get their monster log as well. It's getting to that point, though, that we really want to see that infusion. We still don't even have 1,000 hit points yet. In fact, I kind of wish I decided to do the long-form series thing even sooner, because in retrospect, that would have been a much better format for Final Fantasy VI, wouldn't it? Than 50, like, little 20-minute videos. Do a smaller amount of hour-long videos, but I don't know, people really liked the outros to that one, and that's a game that people enjoyed giving their shout-outs. To the point where at some point in that series, because little outros, I made little animations of, like, the characters going out and fighting a monster, and doing a, like, spell or something, and I would give people, like, if I get a shout-out for Final Fantasy VI, I want this character. Which I ended up not doing, because taking requests, that adds a whole layer of work that I don't need. I actually generate, whenever I start a new series, one of the first things I do after I record the footage is I make a text file to keep all of the descriptions and video titles, any special notes I need, all in one place. And part of what's in that text file is who's getting the shoutouts, and I use random.org to determine that. In case you've been watching if you're a $2 patron, if you're not a $2 patron, that's what $2 gets you. They put you in a rotation to get shoutouts at the end of my videos. Not Risk of Rain videos, like I said, but my other videos. And I use random.org. I have a spreadsheet which has all of my patrons in it that Patreon keeps up to date. And I just I figure out who hasn't gotten a shoutout in this current rotation yet, and I use random.org to select however many shoutouts as there are videos in that series. And once everybody's gotten one, I make a new column in the spreadsheet and start it all over again. So this does mean that sometimes if, like, somebody gets, oh, missed His Majesty. Hi, His Majesty. How funny would it have been if he had killed me right there, actually? That would have been pretty funny. Because I had no control over myself, but I was still an active hitbox, so. Alright, we'll just stay here till we get $1,300. Open this box. Yeah, like if you get rolled like really, really early in one rotation and then really, really late in the next one, you could probably go months and months and months without ever seeing your name at the end of one of my videos. I average about 50 patrons, which means probably every 2 or 3 months or so I go through the rotation list completely. But if you roll really early in one rotation and really late in the next one, you might go 6 months without seeing your name. But I promise, it's fair. Everybody gets an equal amount of shoutouts. Because I will frequently record series but then not upload them right away, or sometimes I record series and I do upload them right away, depending on the series or the needs of the channel, it would be impossible for me to actually schedule a perfectly fair everybody gets one every 50 videos or something. The way I do it, sometimes you'll wait longer, sometimes, I think twice in my history, it's just happened that somebody's got back-to-back shoutouts 2 days in a row. Typically what'll happen is I'll do a really long series, like say Eternal Darkness, which is 20-something videos. I'm looking for the teleporter. I was only stalled there because I had a box. Hey, I need your monster log. How about you drop it for me, please? I need your item, too. Drop that, too. No? Alright. Alright, whatever. Hey, I need your monster log. Why don't you drop it for me, please? I also need your item. If you go ahead and drop that for me, too. That'd be really great. No? Okay, that's fine. So I've had a really long series, say 24 videos. I'll go into random.org. I'll say, okay, I need 24 random patrons to put in this text file. And whoever is number, say, 1 in that list, whenever Eternal Darkness starts uploading, their shout-out will come first. While Eternal Darkness is going up, I might make 2 or 3 smaller, say 5-episode Let's Plays, something like Battle of Olympus or Faxinadu, that, because of the nature of the channel, are going up much sooner. So, whoever rolls number 26 in that Eternal Darkness Let's Play, they're waiting that much longer to get that shout-out. And while I'm making these other smaller series, they're not eligible to roll for another shout-out because they just got one. Technically, they just got one. But I guess from their perspective, it seems like it's been a lot longer. But I do promise it is fair. Everybody gets one per rotation. Nobody's ever complained about it. This is an example of something that I've probably overthought. Like, this might be a legitimate complaint some person has at some point, at some time. Like, this, I might have to deal with this and make this, but nobody's ever complained about it in the years I've had a Patreon account. Nobody's complained and said, hey, how come I didn't get a shout-out? I do prioritize the random.org list to the newest possible patrons, because what happens sometimes is, say you were inspired by this video, by me talking about my Patreon, to go to my Patreon channel and pledge $2 a month. And say you do that on the second day of the month. Your pledge doesn't actually clear until the first day of the following month. So it's about 30 days typically until you'll even pay for the pledge. And I can't give you a reward, in this case a video shout out, if the pledge doesn't clear. So what does happen sometimes is somebody will pledge for only 1 month, and then the next month either they rescind their pledge because they only wanted to do it for 1 month, or like their credit card gets declined or whatever. But during that month, I haven't processed any new videos, which means because they were a paying patron at one point, but they weren't a paying patron at the literal time when I processed my outro list, they might not get a shout out at all. The way I do that is in my spreadsheet, I just have a special color that I use for brand new patrons that haven't gotten a pledge yet. And even if it comes to pass that the next series I make isn't until they've rescinded their pledge and they're no longer paying me, they still get at least one shout out. So I do try to make sure that that works as well. Might be stuff, if I've done my job correctly, if I do my job right, this is stuff you guys have never thought about or even considered before. Because why would you? But this is the kind of stuff that I have to think about on my end. Make sure it's fair for everybody. Like I said, nobody's complained about it. I've never actually had anybody say, hey, I never got a shout out. The only other thing that I do kind of wrestle with, and I go back and forth on whether I should change this procedure or not, is every couple of months I have a big patron who, my top Patreon level is $50, and it's rare for people to stay at that $50 level for very long, because the reward I get for $50 is a one-time thing. You get to select a Let's Play, and I've got 2 actually Let's Plays. They might be going up. One of them might be going up as I'm recording this. Let me look at my schedule. Yeah, as I'm recording this, the Lost Vikings will be updated. That was a Patreon pledge. Somebody pledged $50 and said, hey, I want you to play the Lost Vikings. Cool. I actually like the Lost Vikings. I think it's a great series. It's a great game. I think you'll really enjoy it. But it's a one-time thing. Like, even if that guy decides... Ooh. Cool down on use items. I like those. Even if that guy decides to stay at the $50 level, and I've got one patron who's been at $50 the entire time I've had a Patreon account, which is years now. So, with thousands of dollars it adds up to at this point. Thank you very much. But even if he decides to stay at $50 level, he's not getting another Let's Play next month. That'd be ridiculous. There's no way I could do that. I can't physically make that many videos, especially not at that price. So what a lot of people will do is they'll pledge the $50 and I wait for it to clear, and then they immediately either rescind the pledge or dial it back down to, ooh, that was a lot of damage. That was a lot of stupid damage. This is why I want that infusion, kids. It's always this level, too, because of them spiders. I've got more jumps. I got an extra jump I didn't think I had. Okay, no, this is fine. We'll make this work. And the blighted creatures are in the fray now. Typically what will happen is somebody will pledge $50, it'll clear, and then they'll like go down to $5 or $10 or whatever. 5 seems to be pretty common, because it feels like people who are really big enough fans to want to like pick their own Let's Play are big enough fans to be in for $5. And I appreciate every single one of my patrons. Obviously, it's my job. I wouldn't have this job if y'all didn't pay me for it. So, what happens a lot of times is like their pledge will clear, and I'll be like, alright, I'm going to start work on this game, but you won't actually see it for another 2 months probably. And by the time you actually do see it, you're no longer at a $50 level, but you still get the $50 reward that you paid for. And I want to try to make sure that I keep that consistency with the shoutouts as well. So the $2 shoutouts, if you're in for $2 and it clears and your $2 lands in my account, you'll get at least one. Of that I can be certain. And the only reason I have a $2 level is because if somebody goes to my channel and they're like, hey, I want to give this guy, I can give this guy $1 a month, but wait, for $2 a month, he'll say my name in a video. And I do have a lot of people at, when I first started doing the outros, I had a lot of people that were at $1 that went to $2 immediately. And $2 is the most common new pledge. That is the most common new level. First aid kit. We have a bunch of those already. We're already stockpiling those. There's the red whip that we lost from the previous run where we got killed in this exact spot. And there's another jump. Okay. 3 jumps happening now. The big, like, financial grief that I have at the moment is I'm not a particularly web-savvy person. I don't know how to do web design, code, any of that kind of stuff. And I make a small amount of income from Twitch subscriptions. Twitch has a thing where you can subscribe to my channel for $5 a month, and then Twitch splits that with me. So if you subscribe, I get $2.50 every month from you. The way Twitch works is they don't pay that out every month unless there's $100 in the account. So let's do some math. To make $100 in the account, in order for me to get that payout every month, I have to make $200 in subscriptions. And the way that works out is I have to have 40 subscribers is the magic number. 40 subscribers times $5 per subscriber is $200. No, I'm getting the math wrong. I'm trying to get the math right, but it's hard because I'm getting mobbed by creatures. Anyway, I don't have nearly that many subscribers. I average like 18, 19 subscribers typically, which means I get a payout from Twitch every couple of months. I don't get the $100 every single month. And the reason I don't, because I have a lot of people on Twitch who are subscribers on Twitch, or especially through Twitch Prime, because if you have Amazon Prime, you can subscribe to my channel for free. It's just part of, not for free, you're paying Amazon, who owns Twitch. You're still paying for it out of your Amazon bill, but I get $2.50 regardless. But I have a lot of people who are subscribing for $5 on Twitch that they don't get YouTube shoutouts. I don't have a way to track that along with Patreon. Like, I'm not able to offer Twitch subscribers Patreon rewards. For one problem, the one thing is, like, if you're subscribed for $5, but that doesn't make you, from my perspective, a $5 patron. If you're a $2.50 patron. And I don't have a way to easily integrate all of my Twitch subscribers with my Patreon patrons. The flip side of that coin is if you just subscribed on Patreon and not on Twitch, you don't get access to my little Twitch icon that people like to use, my little brick roost. that I made, who was a cool rooster wearing sunglasses giving the thumbs up. Which is another thing, if this was one of my standard Let's Plays and not one of the long-form ones, I would feel the need to splice it into the video and show you what it looks like. But I don't. I don't feel that need at all. Go on Twitch or Discord and somebody will be more than happy to show you what the Brick Roost looks like. I would love a way to just make it so all of my Patreon and Twitch people's got all of the same rewards. Like if you're in for $5 on Patreon, you get access to the Twitch icon and stuff. And maybe there is a way to do that, but I don't know how to do it. There's no easy way to do it, I'll say that. Of course, Patreon and Twitch, they're companies that are trying to make money. They're both making money off of me. I'm making money off you, and they're making money off me. It's how this system works. It's the essence of business. Been going this way for thousands and thousands of years. You can't stop the gravy train rolling. But for that kind of integration, it doesn't make sense for either of those companies. Why should Patreon do anything that Twitch benefits from exclusively and vice versa? If Patreon says, hey, it doesn't matter if you get all this access to Patreon stuff, whether or not you give us the money or Twitch the money, like they want you to give them the money and not Twitch. Twitch wants you to give Twitch the money. There's my infusion and a Dio's friend. I think it's pretty safe to say it'd be very difficult for me to die at this point. And a spike strip. We're good. We have all the spike strips we could ever want. But I have had people say, like, hey, how come I don't get a shout out for being a Twitch subscriber? And my answer is, well, then you should, if you want the shout out, you should kill your subscription on Twitch and go on Patreon and give the $5 that way. I get more of a cut anyway. I get like $4.80 out of that $5 if you do it that way. But of course that gets complicated because a lot of my subscribers are people that just have Amazon Prime, so it doesn't cost them anything to subscribe. It does get a little murky, and I can't please everybody, but I do the best that I can. One idea we've been kicking around in the Discord is I've got a few people who want me to play multiplayer games. They want me to play more multiplayer games. I now have 2 happiest masks. So one of those masks is a liar. It's not the happiest mask. It's the second happiest mask. Not necessarily the saddest mask, but definitely not maximum happy. I don't like multiplayer games, typically. I much prefer to play games alone. I have done a lot of multiplayer stuff in the past. A lot of it out of what I felt was obligation. Like, hey, I'm a Twitch streamer. Twitch streamers play multiplayer games with their viewers. That's just how it goes. So, I've done a lot of multiplayer games from that angle when I used to play a lot of Street Fighter. And the previous Diablo season that I played mostly multiplayer with the peoples. But it's not my favorite way to play games. And I'm going to just see if there's any item hanging out over here real quick. Looks like no. Okay. Much prefer to play games on my own. But I do have to acknowledge that, hey, some percentage of my viewer base, this is something that they want. And I recently put up a poll on Twitter saying, if you're pledged on Patreon, would you consider pledging more to get like a dedicated Twitch multiplayer night? Is that something people want? And it won the poll, so now I'm going to think of a way to do that. Maybe set it up as like a communal goal instead of a per pledge thing. Like if my total pledges reach this amount, we'll do multiplayer night kind of thing. But Patreon rewards can be difficult in my line of work. It can be hard to think of stuff that I can give my patrons that's fair and fun. Because I'm not a creator in the sense of, say, like an artist, you know? Like a lot of webcomic artists or whatever, they can put up a Patreon, like, hey, if you get $20, gets you a picture that I draw. I can't draw. I mean, I guess I could. Maybe I should make that a poll. Like, how many people would consider pledging to my Patreon if I drew them something? Once a month. $10 patron level, I'll draw you a picture. I've got a $25 level where the bugs are fun, but I think I'm going to stick with the treasure box. I got a $25 level where every month you stay at that level, or higher, I make you a perler, like a little perler thing. I like perler beads. I make perler beads. I'm pretty good at it. I've got a whole set. I got all the possible colors. But it's not a very popular level. I only had 2 people stay at that level for a long period of time, and the people that I have at that level now are like, hey, I don't want brawlers anymore. So... maybe that's what I could do. Like, hey, $10 level, I'll draw you a picture every month. But it's not going to be a good picture, okay? It's not going to be a great picture. It's going to be I'm Brickroad, and I can maybe load up Microsoft Paint picture. I did a Let's Play years, oh my god, so many years ago. 2010, I think? It was a screenshot Let's Play of Final Fantasy Dawn of Souls. And a screenshot Let's Play back in the days, you know, back in like the 1960s when Let's Play was invented. Instead of making videos like I'm doing, you would, I think, screenshots of the game and then just write your commentary instead of voice it over like now. I know it's hard to think of, but it's how I did Let's Plays for a while. I've done a couple like that I would never do in a video format. I say never. I don't ever want to say never, but I did Final Fantasy Dawn of Souls this way. And this would frequently have me make, like, filling up a directory with hundreds of screenshots from the emulator, okay? And then sifting through them just to use the shots that I wanted to use. Get that magma worm dead before anything terrible happens. And sometimes the update would take a couple weeks to write. And this, like, I used to get a lot of complaints, like, man, I wish this series would get updated, but Brickroad never updates it. It's a lot more work, because you're literally writing, it's the equivalent of, like, YouTube scripted content. It's way more work. So I would have a directory of footage that would be a couple weeks old by the time I got around to finishing it. And one time, I lost the screenshot folder somehow. I don't remember how I did it, but they got corrupted or I accidentally deleted them or something happened. I didn't have them for a big chunk of the game. So I bought some colored pencils and just drew pictures for them. And it was an awful experience. Drawing was not fun. And they looked really gross and everybody laughed at me. But for the novelty of it, I guess it was fun to have done once. And those are still out there. You can still go to the Talking Time forums and find that Dawn of Souls Let's Play, and it's still good to go if you want to see what my drawing is like. I remember drawing one of the characters in my party in Final Fantasy was a fighter, and I drew the fighter, and somebody made a comment like, how come he looks like a horse? And I looked at him and was like, oh, that's supposed to be his chin, because he's like a big, manly, broad-chin fighter guy. But it totally does look like a horse. Just to give you an idea of where my artistic talent lay. But hey, maybe somebody wants to pay me $10 a month for me to draw them a picture. I'm gonna lose His Majesty again! Oh, not happy. Oh, I got him. He's dead. We killed him in the few seconds while our experience was all counting down. And got a goat hoof for the trouble. I find that, because I have some friends, I've got a couple of good friends who are artists, who can actually draw really well. One of them being my sister-in-law, is an excellent artist. I don't know if it's her primary source of income, but I know that she has a DeviantArt account where she takes commissions. And she would probably kill me if I plugged her account, so I'm not going to. I'm not going to drive a whole bunch of weird traffic that she's not used to seeing to her account. But yeah, I know artists, and it's always frustrating because people who are practiced artists, and it's a lot of hard work and it's a lot of practice, okay? I want to make sure that I say that up front, because the thing that I say next is going to make it sound to some people like I don't think it's a lot of hard work or a lot of practice. It definitely is. But my experience with people who are accomplished artists, they have this tendency to think like this is something anybody can do. Anybody could be a really good artist if they only work at it, and it's just not true. It's just very not. There are levels of like I said, hard work and practice that go into it. It's only going to make you better, but people's brains work differently, and you definitely need a certain kind of brain to be a visual person, to be able to see something clearly in your mind's eye and then translate that down into a permanent medium, be it paint or digital or whatever you're using. I need an ancient wisp. That's a magma worm. And let's try not to get overloaded. Okay, okay. I guess I got the overloader. Nice. But that's definitely true. And I think it's true about every creative medium. Some people are good at writing. Some people are good at different kinds of writing. I think I'm pretty good at writing in the sense that I can find descriptive words to convey my ideas, but I'm really bad at writing prose. Why I have not and have never written and published a novel. Like, it's probably not going to happen. I can't organize my my thoughts in that way, and part of that is because I'm not a visual person, so I tend to not think in pictures. If that might sound odd to some people, but like my thoughts are words when I'm conveying an idea, like something abstract, something that doesn't exist yet, like an idea for a story or an idea for like a kind of like a monster or a picture or like a dungeon in D&D. I think in terms of words. Like what I'm actually picturing is like a paragraph describing the thing rather than the thing. That's not always how I think of stuff, but I find it pretty common. Like I have to work really hard to not get that, and why I'm not terrifically good at writing prose. I think I could, if I did practice it, I could get better at it and probably get to the point where I could publish something worthwhile. But one talent that I do have, that I only am getting better at the more I practice it, which is definitely not something everybody can do, is I can improvise ideas very quickly. It's why people enjoy playing in and watching my Dungeons & Dragons games, because some people don't have the ability to think on their feet and run a D&D game. I've had tons of people watch my D&D streams or even play in them, or even comments I've read online, like, how do I do this? How is this a thing people can actually do? I can't, every time my players throw me for a loop, I gotta get all the books out and look up something, and it's something that I've worked at really hard, especially these past few years with the Flump campaigns. By the way, youtube.com/salutetheflump, if you haven't checked out my second YouTube channel where we put up the Flump archives. There's like 4 years worth of archives now, hundreds and hundreds of episodes. Very much like this long-form series. I gotta find this scavenger because I need his monster log. Very freeform, very casual. It's not my typical stuff. It's not edited at all. It's just chopped up for easy viewing into little hour-long chunks. But it's something I've really worked at. But there is a modicum of just natural talent there. I'm just naturally inventive and creative and can think on my feet. I can visualize things that make sense within a fictional construction or rule set that other people would not be able to. And while I do think that anybody can become a passable DM with enough practice, just like anybody can become a passable artist with enough practice, there's always going to be a level of... Is that my first clover? I think it's my first clover, actually. There's always going to be a level of talent involved, and if you don't have it, you don't have it. People's brains just do work differently. But that's been my experience as artists over the years, when I was like, man, the thing, like what you do with images, I wish I could do that. I'm like, oh, you can. I just practice, and everybody gets good. No, man. It's the same with any creative medium. It's the same with music. It's the same with different kinds of writing. I think just the ability to organize your thoughts and think critically about media is a talent that you can develop into a skill. That's where a lot of these long-form, like, analytical YouTube channels come from that I really like these days. Some people are just better at organizing their thoughts and figuring out what they mean. And you get better at that with practice, but some people can't do it. Some people just don't have a natural inclination to organizing their thoughts in that way. Which is why a lot of times, like, try this out. Try this out for a few months, and it'll confirm what I'm saying. Try to really find out over the next few months when you're talking to people, your friends, your family, whoever, when they see a movie or read a book or play a game or hear a song on the radio, try to actually get them to articulate why they liked it or why they didn't like it. Everybody knows that they like something or didn't, but spend some effort and try to get people to tell you why without stammering out like, oh, you know, just the guy's cute or whatever. Like, oh, I liked the part where the thing exploded. It was just awesome. Like, everybody can give surface level answers like that. Try to really get people to think, not think, to be able to speak critically about something. Because a lot of why we like media is it's intuitive. It's very emotional. Like, everybody knows they do or don't like a song, but not everybody can organize their thoughts and explain why. Unless you have the technical education of the medium, you might not even be able to do it then. One of the reasons I'm able to do it with video games is because I've been playing video games for so long and thinking critically about them for so long that I've started to build up a vocabulary to be able to talk about it. I would not be able to do the same thing with music. I cannot listen to a piece of music and then explain why this piece of music is good or not. That's not something that I can do. I could if I learned about the technical... This guy is a blighted creature? No, just a missile creature. In any event, he did a whole bunch of damage to me. If I learned the technical side of music, I wouldn't make me a better composer, but I would be able to critique the music that I listen to more. But I already have that vocabulary with video games. Like, I've been playing video games for so long. I've never published one for pay, but I've seen enough of the development side of games. I've met people who and have contacts who do work in that side of games. So I actually have the vocabulary there, where I don't for other things. But it's not... There's a talent for it. It's something that some people's brains are naturally wired to do that and some are not. It's definitely something that everybody can practice at and everybody can maybe get better at, but not everybody is going to have what it takes to be an actual, say, critic. Which maybe is for the best, because maybe the world doesn't need more critics. It's just an example because it's the thing that I'm good at. I have a natural talent for having a critical eye for things and being able to marshal my words when it comes time to explain why that is. Hey, His Majesty's back. I gotta make sure to kill the Toxic Beast, because we are still waiting on a... Oh, no, we're not! We got the monster log for Toxic Beast. Never mind, we can skip them. Scavengers, Ifrit, and the Ancient Wisps is what I need to make sure I kill when they spawn in. One thing I was always good at as a kid was writing, like, short-form stuff. Like, I used to write, not like cringy teenage listening to The Cure poems, but I liked Shel Silverstein a lot as a kid, and I wrote a lot of poems in that kind of humorous style. And I have a knack for that. It's not something I've ever developed. But if you've watched, I've got a couple of music videos on my channel. I've got We Didn't Cast Faraga, which is a Final Fantasy-themed parody of Billy Joel's We Didn't Start the Fire, and I Need to Kill This Scavenger. And then I have an Ocelot rap about Ocelot from Metal Gear, which is a parody of the song Handlebars by the Flobots. And I've got a third one that I want to work on that I wrote a couple of years ago but haven't done any actual work on, but I think I might want to start getting that going. But like, writing the lyrics for those songs comes very, very... Like, I put virtually zero effort into it. They just come to me. They're just there. The words are just there. And I just make them rhyme, and then with a little bit of extra work, I can make them scan properly, and they're just there. That might be a talent that I could probably develop. The problem, of course, then is I don't have the talent or means or infrastructure to actually do the recording justice. So when I want to go finish up the actual song, all I have going for me is me and my Blue Yeti microphone. And where's my teleporter in this level? That I can then overlay over to like a karaoke version of the song like that. Oh, it's way in the corner here. Okay, cool. Cool beans. Cool beans, bro. Let's not get spat on by a whole bunch of elite spitters. We're at that kind of dangerous level where, yeah, we have infusion, but infusion hasn't had time yet to do all of its work. So, like that scavenger over there, I've got to pay close attention to. Still waiting on his monster log. But I've always had the hardest time writing prose. Story ideas are a mile a minute. I have a directory on my laptop that is just like world building stuff. Like various like game ideas or story ideas that I've had. Like, oh, this would make for a good novel. But actually taking the next step and getting it down is so much more difficult than just coming up with the idea. I'm just not good at writing prose. It's not my strong suit. But, bringing it back around to artists, because artists like my sister-in-law, because they spend so much time honing and practicing their craft, they do get to a point where you're like, oh, yeah, no, this is something that I work really hard at, so the source of why I'm good at this must be hard work. When hard work is only just one element of why you're good at that thing. Let's Playing is no different. Part of the same skill set that makes me good at like improving things in D&D is what makes me kind of entertaining to listen to in Let's Play videos. It's why people pay me to do this. Not everybody can do that. Not every Let's Play channel out there has commentary that's worth listening to. Some people have commentary that is dull or boring, or some people just genetically have an unpleasant voice to listen to, sad to say. It is something I've definitely gotten better with practice over the years. I'm especially aware of that right now because I'm spending a lot of time going back to my old series right now, because we're coming up on my 100th Let's Play series pretty soon, which I mentioned a couple of videos ago. So I've been watching some of my old footage, and other people have watched my old footage like, hey, you're getting a lot better at this than you used to be. But I can just naturally talk and just sit here and talk into an empty room, and that's a talent that some people just have a knack for. Some people have a better knack for it than I do. Some people don't, but have worked at it a lot more than I have. I started a podcast this past year with my good friend McLean, and this is not something either of us have ever done, but it's something that we're going to keep working at until we get better at it. But I also know people that I love very dearly who I would not have asked to do a podcast with me, though. Like, they have other talents. They're not good at just having an entertaining conversation and keep it lively for a third party that may or may not be listening. One skill, if you're going to get into that kind of work, if you're going to do like a podcast or even a Let's Play channel or something, one thing you do have to disabuse yourself of, that I've seen time and time again with friends that I've brought, sometimes even that I've brought onto the YouTube channel or streamed with, everybody likes to talk about themselves in terms that they can understand, which is fine if you don't have an audience, because the only people privy to your conversation are you and the person you're talking to. For example, there's a lot of in-jokes that I have with my D&D crew that are fine when it's just us. But when the microphone is live and they reference those things and they talk about those things, sometimes at length, it's not like like the audience doesn't get it, and they're not going to get it because they don't know the same people we do. They don't have the same experiences we do. This is something that I've noticed a lot of Let's Players falter with a lot of times, especially when I started Let's Playing. I was part of a forum community called Talking Time that most of the people watching were from that forum and had all that forum's in-jokes and things. And some of my earliest Let's Plays were basically just made for those people and nobody else. Like, anybody else who watched was just incidental. So I could get away with using those memes and those references and things. But as time went on and my audience grew, I had to get away from that, which some people on Talking Time didn't like. Like, yeah, your channel was better when you used to do the Percy memes and stuff. And, well, Percy memes are fun, but nobody knows who the hell Percy is outside of our little microcosm. And that's really, really common in Let's Plays, because a lot of smaller Let's Players, that's how they function, is inside of whatever community they're a part of, making videos for whoever's in that community. And so that's a trap that I think a lot of people can fall into. And it's something you've got to be aware of if you're going to do this kind of work. Talking about yourself, making personal references, that's fine, but you've got to make sure the bulk of what you're saying has a broader appeal. That's something that I was very, very focused on for a long time working on, because I didn't think I was good at it. And of course, long-form videos like this, where I've got to talk for, what has it been, friggin' 2 hours almost? Obviously, I'm going to touch on that kind of stuff from time to time anyway, just because it's not a script. There's nothing else to go on about right now. So that kind of stuff is going to slip into the medium, but it is something I've had to really work at. I've also gotten better, but not great, about omitting the likes and ums and dead silences from my recordings. In fact, one bad habit I have, because I am fairly good at thinking on my feet, but sometimes I want to organize a thought in a particular way, and a word won't be there. And it'll take me a few seconds to think, like, okay, what word do I need to use in this sentence before it comes out of my face hole? And if it doesn't come right away, and I reach that part in the sentence where it is time to now say this word, but I don't have it yet, if it's on the tip of my tongue or whatever, I'll just wait for it to come, and there will be awkward 3-4 second silences in the middle of my sentences sometimes. If you've noticed it, well, if you haven't noticed it, God bless you. Because that's one of my biggest failings as a recorder, as a YouTuber, doing what I do with the live commentary. Obviously, it's not a problem if you use scripted commentary, but I very rarely do. If you haven't noticed it, God bless you. But if you have, I'm also aware that I do it. It's something that my D&D group is also very aware of, because, again, I'm improvising, but sometimes it takes a couple seconds for the word to come, and they'll, like, oh, do I need to fill this dead space? Do I need to say something now? No, just give me a second and I'll get us there. Like, right there is an awkward dead space I left for emphasis to give you the idea of, like, what I'm talking about. If that was awkward for anybody, then you understand why I'm critical of myself on this aspect. A lot of times what I'll do, especially for shorter Let's Plays, like a shorter recording session of like an hour or so, is I'll just have a text file with talking points. And if I ever get stuck for something, I'll just go to the text file and be like, alright, I'll just say that thing next. We'll just do that for a while. I didn't do that for this because I didn't know how long this run was going to take. Like, we had a list of 6 things we needed, and 90 minutes in, we've gotten one of them. Something like this, I think, you know what? The viewers are just going to have to come along with me on this. This is just going to have to be the long-form, buckle-in, meandering stream of consciousness nonsense that would not fly in a standard Let's Play series. I used to do a thing on my Twitch streams where I would just get on Skype or Mumble or whatever we use. Now it needs to be Discord, but we didn't have Discord back then. Is that my second dagger? That might be my second dagger. I got daggers for days. Well, at the start of the stream, I would just get on whatever thing, and then any of my friends who wanted to could just hop on and chat with me during the stream. And that's the reason I stopped doing that, is because I have friends that I love and are great people, and I will hang out with them anytime, but I can't have them in my ear while I stream. Because they will not stop talking. They won't... like, as conversationalists, they're fine, but they don't know when to leave a space for somebody else to speak. Or they'll think if there's any space, they need to fill it immediately. Or they'll start making a point or telling a story or something, but not get to the point quickly enough. And now everybody has to sit here for 5 minutes wondering where this is going, if this is even going anywhere. You know? I almost got myself killed. I thought that overloader was dead, but he was not. Is he still out there? I think we got him now. I think we're good. And that's not, I don't know that that's criticism. Like, I wouldn't... I'm purposely not naming names, because I know some people are going to watch this video and be like, is he talking about me? Maybe I'm talking about you. And if I am, it's fine. I love you just the way you are. I just can't randomly have you on my streams talking in my ear. Especially streaming, because part of what you have to do if you're doing a Let's Play commentary like this is you have to be able to segue from whatever nonsense you're talking about directly back into gameplay if something interesting happens. That's another thing that I do all the time, is I will just drop whatever thought that I have, talk about the gameplay thing that happened, and then go right back to a story I was telling, if I was telling them. The fireworks are starting to get real. Listen, I'm just saying, the fireworks are starting to get us there. Our hit points are starting to look okay too now. We've broken 2,400 plus whatever we got from the Guardian Hearts. So we're looking alright on the hit points as well. We got 2 of these laser turbines, which are doing some real work for us. So, but that's not something you can do if you've got another person. Like, okay, I got... Jimmy is with me today. And I just because I have Skype open during my Twitch stream, and Jimmy's a good friend of mine, and he wants to come on. And he wants to tell a very entertaining story about something that happened to him he got to go to Comic-Con, and there was a 400-pound bearded man cosplaying as Chun-Li, and it was hilarious, and he got a picture, and he wants to tell the story that we all want to hear. We want to hear the story. We all want to hear about Crazy Beardo Chun-Li, okay? Nobody is saying that Crazy Beardo Chun-Li is boring or that we don't want to hear about it. But the people on the Twitch.tv are watching me crash cars in Grand Theft Auto or something, and something funny just happened in Grand Theft Auto, and we have to acknowledge it because that's why we're doing this. That's the point of the Twitch stream. But we can't, because your Beardo Chun-Li story is awkwardly dragging on and on and on. And now the only way that I can get away from Beardo Chun-Li back into lots of Ancient Wisps, lots of chances to get my monster log, which just dropped. So I will go ahead and boop. Goodbye, Ancient Wisp monster log. Beautiful. Like, the only way we can get away from Beardo Chun-Li is for me to say something like, hey, let me interrupt for a second. But something just happened like 10 seconds ago that was really funny. That didn't happen. That's not happening right now because the moment has passed. And I don't blame people for doing that, because I would do the same thing if I'm on somebody else's stream. Which is one of the reasons I try not to be on other people's streams, too. It's like, okay, you know how the laws in most places are like you have to have a hands-free device for your car if you want to talk on the cell phone in the car, but studies have shown like that's not actually what causes the accidents. What's distracting you from the cell phone isn't that your hand is occupied, it's that your attention is split between the road and this conversation you're having. And then the rebuttal to that, what people would say is, Well, then, how come you can talk to people that are in the car with you? Is all conversation distracting? No, actually, and the studies have borne this out. If you read the traffic studies that have been done, because somebody in the car with you is reacting to everything that you're doing while operating the car. So if there's a quick emergency, they will instantly stop talking to you. It is less distracting, therefore, to have a conversation with somebody who is in your car than it is to have a conversation with somebody who is on the phone. Because while you're pumping your brakes or whatever, or swerving or whatever, they think the call dropped. Hello, you still there? And they're still talking at you. Or it's just overall more distracting. The hands-free is a nice idea, but it's not actually what's distracting you. It's the same with streaming. If you're not the one holding the controller and playing the game and paying moment-to-moment attention, you're not reacting in the same way as the person holding the controller. And nobody is more important than the person holding the controller. Just like in a car, nobody is more important than the person driving the car. The difference is, in a car, I can immediately stop having a conversation and focus on the road if I need to, whereas in a stream, I kind of can't immediately shut you up so I can talk about what's going on the screen in a natural way that doesn't sound really awkward. So that's one thing I've been very aware of, and it's the reason I don't just open up Discord and let people come onto voice chat while I'm streaming. If I'm actively playing a multiplayer game with other people, I am happy to open up the Discord and let the people that are playing with me come in the chat for that very reason. They're reacting to the game as it's happening. In fact, one thing that I've also had to stop doing is for a couple of years in a row, we did the Final Fantasy V 4-job Fiesta, and one of my best friends and a fellow Let's Player and streamer would play with me, and he'd be streaming on his channel, and I'd be streaming on mine. We'd have conversation, and it doesn't work because we're both reacting to different streams. In fact, I have a kind of awkward stream highlight on my channel from the last year that we did that, where I had to put in footage of fighting a particular boss, because the stream highlight is, hey, I killed the 3 hardest bosses in the game. And one of the bosses, I'm not able to talk about my own stream because he's talking about his stream in the same voice call. Through no fault of his own, that's now an awkward highlight to go back and watch 4 years down. And it's why I've stopped doing the Final Fantasy V Fiesta in that way. I need both of these Ifrits. I need them both dead. I need them to drop a monster log, and they did not. But that's basically what we need here. If they're spawning in, should we just chill on this level for a minute and see if we get more Ifrits? Because scavengers might appear here too. I don't think the bosses are coming in fast enough. He says the second scavenger immediately appears. I don't know. I don't think I want to farm any particular level. But Ifrit only shows up on this level, and it might be a minute before we get back here. Hard to know what's right in a case like this. There's another skill that you need to develop if you're going to do this kind of work, especially with other people. You have to establish something to do when 2 people try to talk at the same time. If you're not working on a script, it's going to happen, and you need to plan for it. And here's what happens if you have no practice with this type of work. Here's what happens. 2 people try to talk at the same time. Then they both immediately shut up. They both immediately stop talking because the other person's talking. Then one of them awkwardly says, hey, go ahead. And then the other person says, oh no, I was just going to say. And then they say whatever it was they were going to say. Oh my god, every time that happens, it happens at AGDQ every year when you have couch commentators. It happens in D&D streams, in my own D&D streams all the time. The standing rule on my D&D channel is if you hear my voice, you stop talking. That's the rule. And if I hear 2 people talking at once, I will say the name of the person that I want to continue talking. That's how we avoid it in that context, but even in that context, it still happens a lot. Where 2 people start talking, then they both immediately stop talking, And then one of them says, go ahead, and the other one says, oh no, I was just going to say, and then they say whatever it was they were just going to say. You know what? I might just chill up here and farm Ifrits. We might, just for a minute. Let's give it 10 minutes, okay? And 110 minutes, we'll move on. So, yeah, it's like, there's no good solution to that, because it's going to happen in any kind of conversational media. My best advice is just... It's hard to give really good advice here, because I don't know how to avoid it. The best advice I can give is don't start talking unless nobody else is talking. Don't ever, ever, ever interrupt another person who's talking. But even that's not a hard and fast rule, because sometimes it's like, hey, dude, you know what? You gotta stop talking about Bearded Chun-Li now. Like, you've been talking about Bearded Chun-Li for an hour, and everybody's sick of hearing about Beardo Chun-Li. I love that this is like my go-to example now, Beardo Chun-Li, of something just somewhat interesting that you might want to listen to for a few minutes if it's in the context of a fun story. Looks like we're only getting Colossi now. No more Ifrits for us. Boo earns. Come on, where all the Ifrits be at? Alright, we're not going to wait 10 minutes. We're gonna go. We're gonna hit it. And hopefully get some Ifrits during the countdown here. I mean, we're gonna be looping constantly anyway. We'll be back to this level later. But yeah, the only thing I can say is if... So, okay, 2 pieces of advice. And these are general pieces of advice because nothing's gonna be foolproof. But if somebody else is already talking, you don't start talking. Especially if you're not the host of the thing. If somebody's already talking and you're not the host of the thing, it's not your job to step in if somebody else is just meandering way too much. That's my job as the host. And if you are the host, you have to do that. If somebody is just meandering or taking up too much time, you have to be the one. I've actually done this on stream before. Or I've had to go into whatever software we were using and mute somebody on the call. And then just send them a message saying, hey, you're muted on the call. That's only happened, I think, twice in my life, and it's awkward and stupid, but it's what you have to do sometimes with somebody, especially like if their microphone is terrible quality, or I've never had to do it for content. Like, I've never had to do it because somebody was like, dude, I heard 50 excellent racist jokes that I'm going to share with you now. Like, it's never been because of that. It's always just been because socially, like, well-meaning but socially awkward guy has been talking for way too long about nothing. And once or twice because somebody has a potato for a microphone and we can't have that. So 2 pieces of advice I can give for anybody who's not the host of the thing. If somebody else is talking, don't start talking. Don't ever interrupt somebody else. If you hear somebody else's voice, you don't say anything. And then number 2, if somebody interrupts you, you keep talking. If you're saying something or making a point or you're in the middle of something and somebody who's not the host starts talking, they need to be quiet and let you finish. You talk over them. And that sometimes in my D&D games will lead to a situation where my players will forget the damn selves and try to talk over me. And that's the session where after the session I'll have a nice little reminder, like, guys, just a reminder, like, I'm in charge here. I'm the guy people need to listen to because I'm the streamer. And I'm the guy that you need to listen to because I'm running the game. So when I'm talking, you're not. We've had that conversation. Every couple of months, I have to do a little reminder to the player. Have a little powwow, like, just, we're all on the same page. These are the baseline rules for playing D&D on stream. But yeah, do not be the guy that says, don't say, okay, go ahead. And don't be the guy who's like, oh, I was just gonna say. Like, yeah, we know you were just gonna say, because you started to say it, and then awkwardly stopped saying it, because the other guy was also just gonna say. Next time you're watching one of the GDQ marathons, especially, because I love the GDQ marathons, I love all of the runners, I love that this community exists with speedrunning, and they get together twice a year to put on a big shindig. It's great. And there's a couple smaller events throughout the years that are the same thing, essentially just with different styles of game, like RPG Limit Break I like watching. The European Speed Assembly, same thing. I watch some of that when it's on, but these guys are not professional streamers, most of them. They're just dudes that like playing their game fast and talking about it. And when you put them on a couch with other dudes that just like talking about their game fast, you get a lot of that awkwardness. Count it up next to AGDQ. Count up how many times that exact exchange happens. Oh, go ahead. Oh, I was just going to say, you can set your watch to it. I got that goat out of the ceiling. Probably not going to get that frost relic, though, out of the floor. But that's something that I've been hyper aware of. Anytime I've done collaboration stuff, we've been making noises in my Discord, so people want to start doing the Let's Racing Time videos again. We had a channel a couple of years ago called Let's Racing Time. I mean, it's still there, but this doesn't get content anymore. We just raced games, and we're not speedrunners. So it was just 4 dudes playing this game that they barely know how to play and joking about it. But it's somebody's job to host those kinds of things. Like, it's somebody's job to organize it and set a schedule and get everybody there. And usually it's that same person's job to, like, process the finished video when it's done. Because we weren't doing this as a, hey, let's get together and race for its own sake, the way that speedrunners like to do nowadays, like especially with randomizers and stuff. We were doing it specifically to make a product that people could watch. Mostly for ourselves and our friends to watch, but the channel got some decent-ish traffic back when we were actively uploading to it. But a lot of that awkwardness still crept in. As what I used to do is I would never want to say, no, you can't be a part of this race. And as far as I know, I never did. I can't imagine I ever told somebody, oh, sorry, no, you can't be part of this race. Anybody who... Because it's a lot of work, even if you're not the one editing the video. It was a lot of work to get your recording rig, because OBS wasn't a thing back at this time. It wasn't just as easy as using OBS or streaming to Twitch and then somebody else grabs the footage later. It was a lot more involved than that. So you never wanted to tell somebody no. We did have some dudes where we were like, hey, we're glad to have you, but can you, next time you gotta get a better microphone kind of thing. We've had that conversation with some people, but I would, with me, I would usually be able to invite people to do the Let's Racing Time or collaboration, whatever it is, with me. Like, I get to choose, like, I want this guy and this guy and this guy. And I would try to split the difference between people who wanted to do it, but I wasn't sure really had the chops to be entertaining in a video, and people I knew who could be entertaining and hold the conversation for multiple hours as we were playing. There's my interstellar desk plans. And it's glorious, and I have it, and the only item we still need is a legendary wisp. So we need ancient wisps, scavengers, and ifrits now. Is what we needs. See, I would split the difference sometimes. Like, okay, this guy, either nobody knows who this guy is, it's the first time he's come before, like the first time we've done this with him, or like, hey, I've done one of these in the past, and even though he's a great guy and we all love him, he's not the best at providing commentary. Like, that's not his strong suit. Especially in nerd circles like I live in, where social awkwardness is very common. You don't want to exclude anybody, but you still want to make an entertaining game, or an entertaining video. At least I always did. And I would again, if... I always tell the people that are involved in the Let's Racing Time videos, that used to do a lot of the editing and stuff for them, I did a lot of it, but there were a couple other people who were very involved in doing the editing and stuff that just don't do it anymore. And I kind of have a standing, like, hey, I'm willing to go back and do this as like a long-form project, like commit time to it, but I can't be the only one doing it, and if I'm the only one doing it, I don't think the channel's any good. Because then it's just Brickroad picks the same 3 people once a month to play friggin' Super Metroid or whatever. Like, part of the charm of Let's Racing Time is that we had a big group of people doing it with different editing styles, and like sometimes they would like play a game that I didn't know very well. I can't be there for that one. It's not my kind of game. You know, sometimes we did blind games. That's something some people don't like. Sometimes Other people didn't like it. Like, part of the channel's strength is that we had... nobody was at the helm, so to speak. Somebody needs to be at the helm. Like, there needs to be somebody who's in charge. Which there is now. There was one guy who was in charge of the channel. Like, he had all of the credentials to log in and everything. But he kind of dropped off the face of the internet for a couple of years and nobody knew where he was. So we actually had to hunt him down. It took some work, but we finally found him and got control of the channel again. And I think I have the credentials saved somewhere, so I can get in if I need to. But I don't think we're going to have that problem again. But there needs to be a couple regular people doing it, you know? Like, it can't just be my... I've got enough on my plate with my streams and my YouTube content and this podcast now, and I've got this blog, and that's... I got puppies in my house, new puppies, and I'm married, and, like... It's just another thing, and it's not something that's going to make me money. Like, I can't do it for money. It's only a hobby. And if I'm going to spend 20 hours editing a video, it's hard to justify editing a video that's only for fun versus editing a video that's going to make me some money as part of my job. And it's also the thing where, like, because this is my job, at the end of the... Like, you don't... Even if you love your job, you don't want to do your job all day and then go home and do more of your job. When I'm done editing video for the day, I don't want to say, oh, now it's time for my hobby, I'm going to edit this video, you know? But I have told the other people who are kind of, quote-unquote, at the helm of the channel, like, hey, if you guys ever get back to doing this regularly, I will also do it. Like, if you guys are putting out a video once a month or so, between the 2 or 3 of you, however many of you there are, like, I'll throw one in every 4 or 5 months. I'll throw one into the rotation, and I'll do it. But it can't just be I don't need a third YouTube channel. I've already got 2, and I don't even update the second one. One of my D&D players does that for me. I don't pay him. I pay him in terms of, like, experience in the game. He gets bonus experience in D&D to keep my YouTube channel uploaded for me. But yeah, these are, like, if you just absorb this kind of content, if you just watch it, you've never tried to make it, or you've never really thought about it, these are the kind of things you probably never considered to go into it. Like, it would never have occurred to me when I first started doing this kind of stuff to say, like, to exclude somebody from a channel or a video or whatever. Like, when I first started streaming on Twitch, it wouldn't have occurred to me, like, hey, maybe this guy, even though he's a good friend, I shouldn't have him on a Skype call while I'm playing a game he's only kind of half watching, you know? Because a lot of Twitch channels especially have that kind of content, where they have multiple people on the call talking through the game. But the thing is, what you don't realize is they've solved these problems on their ends. And the bigger the streamer is, the more likely it solves these problems. One of the reasons big streamers tend to do collaborations with other big streamers is, first of all, because of the benefit of it. This guy gets 300 viewers or whatever, and I get 300 viewers. We're about the same size. We both benefit from being on each other's call. Got the drill bit. That's a nice get. I kind of just want to chill here for a second and get these boxes, I think. But the other thing is, if you're a big streamer and you've got a couple hundred average viewers or whatever, you already know all of these pitfalls that streamers can fall into. You already know how to make an entertaining stream, and anybody who's going to ask you to collaborate can count on you knowing that. But these are things that I'm sure a lot of viewers just don't put into consideration. It's kind of like how the sausage is made, as it were. Okay, I need a monster log from you, buddy, and an item, but you didn't drop either one. I need fewer magma worms in my face is what I need. Hey, there's a wisp up here. How you doing? Yep. And a monster tooth. Okay. Where's he coming? There he is. There he goes. There he went. I don't know where that wisp is. He's somewhere. I love that laser turbine. So good! Where's that ancient wisp? There he is. Is it starting to get a little crazy, you guys? We're starting to get a little crazy up in here. 5,000 hit points, and look at all this destruction gear wrought everywhere. Cool, another ancient wisp. Maybe he'll drop something. Would be nice. Nope, just barbed wire. Oh no, we have the ancient wisp monster log too. We just need his item. That's why I have to have a text file with a list of things that I needed, because I forget a lot of stuff a lot of the time. Alright, that's fine. With any luck, our next level is the mountain again, and we can try for Ifrit one more time. Scavengers appear on any level. Scavengers will just show up absolutely anywhere. So, they're fine. They're not going anywhere. But Ifrit only shows up on one version of level 3. There's another wisp. But a war banner was my reward. Reward banner. Oy vey. I started listening to audiobooks lately. I never got into audiobooks much. I'd never listened to one before, but I decided to get an Audible account and just to try it out. Just do the trial period, see if it's something I would like. First audiobook I listened to was J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit, because I had not read it in many, many years, but my good friend McLean and I had discussed it briefly on that podcast we did. Oh good, this is the correct level for Ifrits. And it was enjoyable. There's an Ifrit right there. Please give me a monster log. Didn't happen. There's another Ifrit right there. Didn't happen. The second book I listened to was A Dance with Dragons. It had been a long time since I read any of the Ice and Fire books, and Dance with Dragons is the only ones that I had not reread since it came out. So I haven't read it since 2011, so it was interesting to go back to the audiobook. I've done partial rereads of it, because the structure of those books is that like each chapter is from the viewpoint of a different character. So I've done partial rereads of A Dance with Dragons, where I would go through and be like, I'm going to go through the series and just read the Daenerys chapters or something. Or like just read Jon Snow's chapters, whatever the case may be. Where is this scavenger? There he is. There he was. There he went. The problem with audiobooks, though, that I'm having is, at first I thought, I'm not going to enjoy listening to an audiobook for a book that I haven't read, because it's a passive experience, listening to an audiobook. It's not the same as reading the book itself. And I still think that's true. So that was like a minor problem. But the other problem is, like, the guy reading the audiobook will try to do the voices of the characters, and listen, I know we live in a society where we're all supposed to be woke to gender roles and whatnot, but a man still sounds like a man, and a woman still sounds like a woman. So, when you have a 50-year-old man doing the voice of a 18-year-old girl in a story, and he does this voice by going really high-pitched and squeaky like this in order to sound like an 18-year-old. Because this is what an 18-year-old woman sounds like. And the content of the actual text sometimes skews sexual, like it does in A Dance with Dragons. So now you have a 50-year-old man doing a high voice like this, and also discussing nipples. It's like, no, come on. I'm way out of my comfort zone now. So that's a problem I'm having with audiobook. I would rather than not do the voice. Just, and then Daenerys said this about her nipples. That would be fine, because I'm detached from the text, like, through the medium of your voice. Like, you're just the medium. You don't need to be anything else. It would be the equivalent of, like, in the book, if a character's... like, in the novel, the character had, like, a different font or different text color from everyone else. I see that sometimes in comics, and it's usually just distracting. Like, there has to be a really good reason to do that for it to make sense to me. There's an old webcomic that I used to read that's actually completed, called 1/0. It was a comic about being a comic, which is kind of meta, but it worked pretty well in terms of the comic. I don't know that I would really recommend it, but it's called 1/0, so it's even difficult to just do a Google search for anymore. But anyway, every character in the comic had their own fonts, and I just always found it very distracting. Like, I'm not associating these fonts with, like, a particular style of voice or anything. It's just you didn't want to use Arial the whole time, or whatever. There are very few times where I think something like that does work. Like, I might be misremembering this, but I'm pretty sure in the graphic novel Watchmen, I think Rorschach has a different, like, text bubble style than other characters. Like, has a wavy pattern to it, and, like, a slightly different lettering. Kind of relating that this character has a different state of mind than everyone else in this story, and that really works. Another example would segue into the third audiobook that I have begun listening to, which is Guards, which is one of the Discworld books that I had not read. I was very pleased to discover shortly after starting this audiobook that it has the story of the Discworld video game that I Let's Played that one time with that dude. But in the Discworld novels, the character of Death speaks in small caps instead of having regular text. He's all entirely in small caps. And this is meant to convey the same kind of information. Like, this character is on a completely different wavelength and level of existence than everyone else. And in one of the stories, which one is it? I think it's Mort, which I've read. But part of the story is that Death goes on holiday, and he becomes, like, he kind of becomes acclimate to a mortal existence, and for a couple of chapters, he doesn't have his trademark small cap text to convey his change in tone and thought process. But that's how I've come to view doing the voices of the different characters in the audiobook. It's like you don't sound like a young woman. You sound like a 50-year-old man pretending to be a young woman. And I'm sorry if I lose social justice points for pointing this out, but a 50-year-old man and an 18-year-old woman sound very different. I'm sorry to all the 50-year-old men out there who identify as 18-year-old women, but you are not and will never be an 18-year-old woman. So please, I don't know, it took that particular recording doing the voice of Daenerys Targaryen, who's a very important character in the plot, so she took up a lot of the book's time, and she's also very introspective, and every time she had, like, a thought, he would do the same, like, in her voice, which, it was just, it didn't sound right. The character had no weight or gravitas coming from this person's interpretation of what an 18-year-old woman sounds like. And because her chapters kind of take place inside of her own head, and she is very introspective, she had the opportunity to say a lot of things that were not out loud, just thoughts to herself, which sometimes they would be sexual in nature, which is just another layer of creepy and awkward. But it can be quite a lot of time, because there's a lot of stretches where she's just thinking to herself for an entire scene. And now it's 40 paragraphs in this voice, which sounds like an 18-year-old girl talking. usually about her nipples, and it's not. I still really enjoyed the audiobook. I liked being able to experience the book again without having to sit down and read it, if that makes sense. Like, I was able to listen to quite a lot of it while playing Diablo or other games. So, Guards I had never read before. And I'm not seeing any more Ifrits happening. I don't know if it's going to happen. Let's just keep moving. Let's just find our teleporter and keep it moving. Things are really going to start exploding a lot now that we've got charge field generator. My goodness. So yeah, my big fear was I've never read this book. I kind of know the story a little bit because the Discworld video game that I Let's Played is based on it. About people kind of summoning a dragon into existence. Is kind of the crux of the plot, it feels like. But I have noticed, like, I think my fear was unfounded, because I am following the story pretty well. Characters' names I'm not super tuned into, and that's the case also with Game of Thrones, especially with Daenerys Targaryen. How many people do you know had not read the books and only watched the show, and went for years and years thinking her name was Khaleesi? One of the saddest factoids of modern America is that for one of the recent years, 2013 or 2012 or something around there, like one of the most popular girls' names for newborn baby girls was Khaleesi. Not her name! Not her name even a little bit! Can I have a monster log, please? 2 Ifrit's horns. No monster logs. Fine. Her name is Daenerys. It's a much better name than Khaleesi. But everybody thought her name was Khaleesi. That's what everybody called her on the show. And how many people not only are going to grow up with the name Khaleesi now, but it's also misspelled because the people have no idea how to spell their names. Ask somebody who's never read the books and has only seen the show if they can spell Daenerys, and I bet nobody can. But so I'm having that problem with the audiobook. Like, there's a character named Carrot, and I don't, like... Is it supposed to be like a play on words? Like, is it supposed to be literally spelled like carrot, like the vegetable? Or am I missing a layer here because, like, it's spelled differently, but it's pronounced carrot, maybe? And that's part of the joke? Like, maybe it's spelled in a way where you think it could be pronounced differently from carrot, but then partway through somebody, like, I don't know. So I do kind of feel like I'm in that boat where I'm not appreciating the book as much as I would if I had read it, but I'm holding in there. I'm following the story well enough, and I am enjoying it quite a bit. Every Saturday I have to spend about an hour in my car driving back and forth. Not an hour, that's an exaggeration, but driving back and forth from D&D, and that's when I get a lot of audiobook reading in. There's one monster down there. Oh, Colossus is down there. Well, that's my teleporter is down there anyway, so... Is he on the ground or is he on one of these ledges? Oh, I got it with head stompers. Life is beautiful. Okay, we are looking for the same 3 bosses we were looking for a moment ago. I don't really care about His Majesty anymore. You turn His Majesty on because you get the guaranteed item drop from him being a boss every so often, but outside of that, not super important. We might get scavengers in this level, but we're not going to get Ifrits, and we're not going to get Ancient Wisps. So let's just get through it. I'm going to grab a different use item, too. I'm getting a little tired of opening these boxes. I mean, I still kind of like doing it, but Photon Jetpack and Bustling Fungus, A. There's a scavenger I need to kill. Look at how long these enemy health bars are getting now, though. Because we've been playing for 2 hours. This is still very early in how broken the game can get. This is after 2 hours. Imagine after 6 hours. Yes, I've had runs that went 6 hours before. That's where they go. Plasma chain. So now we're going to see a big just white line going across the screen sometimes. We're almost at max health. We've almost cracked 10,000 health. Almost there. There does come a point in a breaking run where I actually stop running around fighting monsters and I just try to find a place to sit. I'll let all the monsters spawn in at once. That's another really great way to crash the game. But we'll see if I can do it when we get back around to stage 1. The lake or whatever it ends up being. I don't know, maybe we'll stick with the treasure box just for the fun of having all the fireworks. It's not that big of a problem to open up boxes, and it's not like we have any money issues. Sometimes it's an issue just finding where the box landed, though. Sometimes that can be tricky. Some versions of the first stage and some versions of the third stage, and there's one version of this stage too. It's actually really easy to just find a place to sit. However, that can also tend to crash the game if you get too many monsters on screen. This version of the level? It's not. There's a ledge up there where an artifact spawns in, which we had done much earlier in the series here. But you can just chill up there, and as long as your charge field... Well, we're not going to be able to, because we've got the ceremonial dagger, but... Eventually, flying monster would get killed on our barbed wire or something, and the ceremonial dagger would start off a chain reaction. Eight enemies remain. Three enemies remain. Just nice, satisfying explosion. Sometimes it's all you need out of life. My war banner is almost off the screen now. You see, this is the edge of it here, and it stretches all the way off. Who knows how far? Off the screen over there. You know what? We can sandbag the temple. You guys want to sandbag the temple? Let's do it. Let's sandbag the temple. Go up here. Up top here. I mean, we just kind of kill these flying creatures here, but monsters will appear downstairs still. They will still keep spawning in. Especially because we have a toxic beast down there spawning in its little piglets everywhere. One of them just blew up and died. So, that was fun. Because we are sending ceremonial daggers down there. Periodically. And this is what we do for 2 minutes every level. Just stand there. Stand still. How many syringes do we have? We didn't... Oh, there's the second item. We got 15 syringes. That's 15. Imagine hundreds of them. I think the laser turbine comes out once every 100 shots. I think. Well, that was a whole bunch of monsters dead. Woo! Because they're all bunching up right there. Bottom right corner of the screen is where that frames per second is. Yeah, look at all those items. Let me get all these. So what happened there was, all the monsters tend to bulk up in that little spot off screen, and we're sending ceremonial daggers down, and then they all blew up, and then they all blew each other up, because we also have gasoline, will-o'-the-wisp, and the good Lord knows what else. The goal is to not get down to low frames per second. The goal is to get to seconds per frame. That's how you know you've really won. Risk of Rain. Okay. Fireworks did some work there. Everything's dead. Time to move on. The guy who did The Hobbit I thought was excellent when I listened to that audiobook. And he also did the voices, but all the voices in The Hobbit are like gruff dwarves. So having like a gruff Englishman do it was fine. Same principle, except we're going to have magma worm troubles here. Woo! Big magma worm troubles as it happens. So we need to make sure not to let the magma worms hit us again. I wasn't expecting 2 of them at once. And we've crashed. Fatal error. Okay, let me, first of all, let me... I'm gonna put this crash on screen right here. Can I just get OBS to do it? I can point my Windows source at the actual crash, and you'll get to see what it says. There it is. This is what I'm seeing on my screen right now. Action number 1 of step event worm for object fire trail. So one of the magma worms crashed for us, and that's how it went. Well, that is going to bring us to the end of Risk of Rain for today. I've said we were going to play till we crashed, and we did crash, so let's close that down. Let's get back in there. Boot it back up and see. We only need 3 more things. We need the Ancient Wisp legendary item. We need monster logs for the scavenger and for Ifrit. So, oh, it didn't count that. It didn't count it. If I crash, do I not keep it? If I crash, I don't keep it. This was a waste of time.